So today's going to be a little different. Justin's not here. I got Logan to my side of me. And today what we're going to be kind of discussing is kind of the current like trending events that's going on in the Bitcoin community that we're seeing. And also Logan has a couple questions he wants to ask me, so I'm going to throw it over to Logan.
Yeah, so I was kind of wondering about a couple different things. One of the things that I was interested in is how does nation states adopting Bitcoin affect the network as a whole?
So how does Bitcoin adoption affect kind of the network
Yeah, I was
around
kind of thinking
countries?
about, United States is starting the National Reserve, the Strategic National Reserve. I was thinking about how Russia was plugging in all those miners and all these nations like, El Salvador. I think it's El Salvador. I might be wrong on that. Buying a bunch of Bitcoin.
So kind of what I've been seeing, and don't quote me on this, but what I've been seeing is some states of the United States, I think it's around 20 or it's a little higher, have been raising awareness for starting like state-funded crypto reserves.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
And one of the hottest topics among the crypto community right now for Bitcoin especially is starting a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And I saw a tweet, I think he came out with it Friday, Trump did, and he was talking about a reserve, but it was also including like XRP, Ethereum, and I think it was Solana. I don't think it was Solana. I think there was one other one, and he didn't mention Bitcoin on it, and it kind of was a weird shock. And I was kind of more expecting it just to be a Bitcoin reserve, is what he was talking about, kind of in Nashville in the Bitcoin conference.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting to see but also the tweet got taken down. So a lot of people were speculating it was fake, but I don't know if that was for sure. But on a country level, here, pull up this article that we have with I think it's the middle one. I don't know if they can see it or if you can pull it up on the.
Pull it up for them. Is it this one you're talking about?
One over.
One over. Okay.
Kind of get to that one in a little bit. Sweet. So we kind of found this article from the Bitcoin magazine talking about BlackRock saying that if every millionaire in the United States asked their financial advisor to get them one Bitcoin, there wouldn't be enough. And I think we covered this in a podcast / interview about a week ago, saying that there was like 22 or 23 million millionaires
something like that in the United States.
The United States. Mm-hmm. There's only going to be ever 21 million Bitcoin. So if every millionaire wanted one, there is just not enough just to go around just for each one of these individuals at $100,000 Bitcoin. I mean,
yeah,
come on. So now it becomes the thing that I'm more scared that individuals will be left behind, not being able to invest into this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when you're asking the question about how do I feel about countries and nation states and people like BlackRock and MicroStrategies even buying and accumulating this much Bitcoin, I think it's scary for individuals that haven't caught up to what Bitcoin is yet. I just think it's so detrimental that I want to bring awareness to people that, hey, there's this new and cool thing that is out there. It's a store of your wealth.
So it's kind of like you almost have like a fear of missing out for other people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another FOMO word, but I don't know how you would acronym that.
FOMO. FOMO. Oh. Fear of missing out others.
Fear of missing out others. I like that. That's funny. But if there's not enough to go around, it's in this space that everyone thinks, especially this past 2 weeks is a good prime example of Bitcoin. I think it's down 30% from, I don't remember what month, but I think the all-time high was like 109,000, and it hit 78,000 last week, and everyone gets shaken out of their positions and sells their Bitcoin and doesn't adopt the number one strategy of what Bitcoin is. I mean,
HODL, yeah. Hold on for dear life.
Hold on. I mean, number one rule is don't sell your Bitcoin. And all these news articles and people seeing these price actions like that, shakes them out of their position, and they destroy what number one rule is: don't sell your Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have another saying for the Bit Lounge for number 2 is if the number 1 is to not sell your Bitcoin, what is number 2?
Everyone wants your Bitcoin.
Everyone wants your Bitcoin. And if you don't sell it, how do they take your Bitcoin? Well, they shake you out of your position and they force you to sell.
They scare you out of it.
They scare you out of your position and you sell it. And this is what you see. But Bitcoin has this famous thing of doing 5% swings, 10% swings. I mean, today it went from 81 and I think back to 88. I mean, that's an almost 10K God candle in one day. It swings like that. And if you aren't prepared to take and ride in these positions with these swings of Bitcoin, then you're going to get shaken out. This is a long-term strategy. This is a long-term commodity that is here for ages. There's nothing else going to take its position.
So how do you battle that fear of getting shaken out? I mean, it's a scary thing. It is a scary thing. So how do you combat that?
How do you battle fear in other cases? It's knowledge.
Yeah.
If you don't understand at the core value, the foundation of what the asset is that you bought, it's easily to get shaken out of something. I mean, a good an example, I mean, if you're going to go to school and do a test, you're probably going to get really scared when that test comes across and you have no idea if you didn't study. But if you studied for the test, there's a good chance that you're not going to get shaken out of your position, and you'll probably do very well on it. It's the same thing with Bitcoin, is to take the steps and the knowledge. And that's the first step of understanding Bitcoin, is getting started. Yeah. Most people don't understand what Bitcoin is, and they just see what we like to say is the NGU. The number goes up, and yeah, it's a really sexy number when it goes up to the right.
Mm-hmm.
But they think they're buying at the top, and it'll take this 5%, 10%, 20% swing down. I mean, what we always say, expect a 50% swing in maybe in a day. It could be over a week or a month, but expect 50%. That happens in this community. It is so volatile. So to not expect that is just a lack of knowledge, I think. What do you think? Logan here is more new to the whole Bitcoin community, probably relatively about a couple months.
Yeah.
What is Bitcoin to you?
Bitcoin to me, it's a security. I mean, that's what Bitcoin is. It's a security, but it's more than that. I think the greatest asset of Bitcoin is time. The more time you have, the stronger Bitcoin is. And I'm lucky enough to be young enough and getting into Bitcoin at a time where I'm 22 years old. I have years and years and years and years and years ahead of me to let it grow. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's a strategic reserve. It is. It's something you can hold on to. And in the future, I know it'll bring value to me. It'll be a security for me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a safety net almost for you, is what you're saying. I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm not like far off from you. I'm only 23. So, I mean, I share the same kind of, share the same views with it. But what I am seeing is with kind of like the price of it, I feel like everyone's kind of waiting for what Trump promised of a like Bitcoin reserve, or strategic Bitcoin reserve, sorry. I think the price action is waiting for this thing to happen. And there's another thing that's this week, March 7th, I see that Trump's doing the first White House crypto summit. And if you go to like to the next article, top right,
real quick.
Trump, I don't know if it's true or if it will happen. Mm-hmm. It's just a speculation that I think.
Yep, top of the article says rumor, so who knows?
It's crypto. They're wanting to get rid of capital gain taxes on Bitcoin. Not short-term gains, but capital gains, meaning 1 year plus you've been holding Bitcoin, which is huge.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to take out all of what you gained from your Bitcoin stash and not having to pay taxes on it. I mean,
Imagine how much
Or
that would be
not-
for like micro strategies.
Yeah, I mean, that is huge for the community. Granted, the number one thing is don't sell your Bitcoin, and I don't advise anyone to sell their Bitcoin. You adopt the HODL strategy, and so to sell your Bitcoin would destroy the core value of the number one rule: don't sell your Bitcoin. But things happen. I understand with everything in the world, medical issues, something just important comes up, and you might have to sell it. And
There's certain things that are more
I wouldn't
important,
say the
you
first thing you do is dip your hands in your
cookie jar.
Bitcoin piggy bank wallet. I'd try to find any other means before I got there. But if that was your last option, that is what I would do. But it's there if that does get passed with no capital gains on Bitcoin, that would be huge for the community. And I think Bitcoin this week after that, if something like that does come across, I think we could see a huge price action, like huge movement going along in the community.
Another God candle?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Everyone kind of hopes for. Bitcoin can take these kind of like these dry cycles where it doesn't have much price movement, but it's pretty healthy for it. All these price actions, we follow it to a T. Not every single day, but we figure out where it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to hit. And going from this article, I think it's the first one I saw that was kind of funny. Here it is. Yeah. It was just saying where if In-N-Out Burger should start accepting Bitcoin. I came across this. I mean, obviously, it's funny. If you go to a burger, it kind of reminds me of that way back then where the dude sold a bunch of Bitcoin for some pizza.
Yeah. It's like $1 billion pizza or something crazy.
Something crazy like that. But seeing this, it is cool to see places open up and accept Bitcoin. Granted, it destroys your number one core value. Don't sell your Bitcoin. And like that dude way back then that bought pizza, he regretted buying that because of what it is, what Bitcoin costs now. I mean, if you went to In-N-Out Burger today and you bought, I don't know what price of a meal cost. I'm just going to say like 10
we're in
bucks,
Texas. We don't have
$10
bucks.
Yeah, we actually do.
We do have
we
one,
do.
actually. Yeah.
We do have a
you're
couple.
right.
But if you go in and you spend $10 on a meal, that $10, if Bitcoin, not if, when Bitcoin hits $1 million, I don't know exactly when that. There's so many speculations and hypotheticals. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a strategic Bitcoin reserve and like capital gains and a bunch of other countries falling into this, kind of like FOMOing into it. I wouldn't be surprised if it hit it in the back half of this cycle or sometime in the next cycle. I mean, that price index before kind of the United States and all this stuff was going on, like during the election time, that wasn't going to, that price prediction wasn't for another like cycle or two.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we see this movement kind of move forward, that would be huge. And to go spend $10 on a burger at In-N-Out, I mean, you're going to lose $10 now versus what $10 back then when it was really cheap. You could get actually a couple Bitcoin. You're still going to miss out on what the power of Bitcoin is.
Mm-hmm. You know, the one thing I think is really funny about this, the way I always explain to people when they ask me about Bitcoin and what it's used for and all that, I say, or, you know, if they can go buy things with it. The example I always use is Bitcoin is not for buying burgers. Now it is, apparently.
It's not for buying anything. It's a store of wealth. And so this other thing, we don't have the article here for you, but I saw it. I think it was last week. It was some people were kind of going around and saying, and I don't know if GameStop posted it, but it was, should GameStop acquire Bitcoin? And that would have been, that if they do it, that would be very interesting because they would instantly become one of the most profitable companies already. But what you're seeing is like MicroStrategies doing the same thing. They went from a software company that dabbled in Bitcoin to a Bitcoin company that dabbles in a little bit of software. And that would be really cool growing up as a kid that went to GameStop to get the new and latest, I don't know, like Warcraft or StarCraft or Diablo or something that came out, to seeing something like my childhood turn into a crypto reserve back treasury company
that sells
for
video games
Bitcoin,
sometimes.
that sells some used video games, which I love GameStop. I mean, I followed it way back. I think it was 2020 during COVID when all those
all the memes about
all that price action was going on, and it was cool to not see it go out of business, but more kind of come to what it is now. And if I do see them buy Bitcoin, I would think, wow, they got some people in that company that really have a vision of where the future is taking us, and basically an off ramp to de-risk themselves from fiat currency. And you had another question I can't remember about kind of
I have
fiat.
a quick question just offshooting off of that. So how in a business setting, that is, how could Bitcoin be utilized in a business?
In a business, how can Bitcoin be used?
So we're talking about how, like, if GameStop acquires Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
how does that affect the companies? Like, obviously it makes the company more profitable. They have an asset on their sheets, but how can you utilize it like that?
How can you utilize it? So what they're doing is kind of what everyone saw with Michael Saylor did to, I guess it's now called Strategy. They changed the name of it, but he's putting it on his balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Is what these companies are doing. They're just putting it on their balance sheet, and they're just writing the price, the gains off of Bitcoin. So we have a article, or what is that called? We have a PowerPoint somewhere with a little article showing the 4-year price action and the 12-year price action of Bitcoin. Last 4 years, it was above 400% gain, with about an average about 60% a year.
Yeah, that was a 2020 time and all that. Yeah,
I mean, when I did kind of like the stock market before I kind of got into Bitcoin, you were hoping for anywhere between 10 and 15% gain in a year. I mean, the only time I seen more than that was during COVID, when all the prices, I was just one of those people that bought everything really cheap. And I mean, I didn't know much. It wasn't knowledge of me doing that, but it was more of just everything's on sale and I just bought it and kind of just hoped it went up. And sure enough, it did. Now I know I'm young and I'm supposed to do that risk factor, and yeah, it pulled off, but I'm not comfortable doing that again and again and again. Yeah. I want some realized gains for my future, not setting everything I do on a gamble just because it's cheap. But what I see these companies doing, like Strategy, they put it on their balance sheet, and this is how they're able to get. Granted, there's a bunch of other things he's doing too, but that is kind of the main thing he's doing, is just buying Bitcoin and holding it and riding the wave of Bitcoin and never selling it. I think is what he said, that when Michael Saylor dies, he's taking the keys with him. Mm-hmm. And I think right now he has accumulated like 430,000 Bitcoin. It's more than that, like that, but that was the last kind of price point that I saw how much he's acquired. But just imagine what happens if in the future he takes the keys with him to all that Bitcoin. What do you think that's going to do?
I mean, it'd be a supply shock.
It would be a supply shock. I mean, I don't know roughly percent-wise what that is. I don't want to do the math on that, but because there's not 21 million actual Bitcoin. That there is 21 million Bitcoin that is ever going to be ever in existence, but I can't remember. I think it's right now it's a little over 1 million that will be gone forever. That's just lost. Yeah. So realistically, I think there's like 19 million somewhere in that area that will actually be in the market.
Yeah, I think right now there's 19.8 million mined, somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that, and that's what we do. We're miners. That's what we do. We kind of do some mining on a different scale, but what we kind of see with strategy, places like In-N-Out Burger, just many other places allowing people to use Bitcoin, not strategy they're holding, but like In-N-Out Burger, there's a couple of places. I saw something like Ferrari even accepts like Bitcoin to buy a car. Granted, I'm not one of those advocates that ever says go and spend your Bitcoin on a Ferrari, because in 30, 40 years, that would probably be the most expensive Ferrari you ever bought. That might top the number one sold Ferrari. I think I can't remember. I think it's like 75 million was the most expensive Ferrari, but I could be very wrong in the ballpark for that. But if you bought one now for, I don't know, $350,000 worth of Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin hits 100 million per coin, 3 Bitcoin, that's a $300 million Ferrari. That will be hands down the most expensive Ferrari ever bought. And
you would hate that Ferrari at that point. You'd be like, why did I buy that?
But that's not Bitcoin's case is to be used for that. I see down the line, there's strategies, and we'll kind of get in that on Wednesday's episode, how you can actually use your Bitcoin instead of just, you can't not spending it, but how do you get your money out if you're not told to spend it? We'll cover that in a later topic, but kind of going back to like the capital gains and the capital gain. What was the other one?
Let me pop that back up.
That was the capital gains.
This is the millionaires.
The millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not enough to go around for everyone, I don't think you're doomed, but I don't want you to be late to the game. And Michael Saylor has this great quote: whatever, they'll get Bitcoin at the price that they deserve. And if that's $1 million Bitcoin is at the price, or whether it be today. But that's kind of what we're trying to do here, is get people to go in and understand kind of the asset and what they're feeling for, and buy some today and not wait 10 years before it's too late and like, wow, I could have bought that when it was $100, because that's what people today say is, I wish I bought Bitcoin when it was $100, $1,000, $10,000, and now it's $100,000. But if you don't do it now, you're going to be saying the same thing when it's $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. I should have bought it when it was $100,000 or $80,000. I mean, look at it today. It's in the 80s. It's kind of all weekend kind of been in that kind of price. Like anything under $100,000 is like a sale. Buy what you're comfortable with and store it away. But there's another dude that I saw that he spent like $30 in Bitcoin a day for 8 years, and it totaled to like $86,000 that he actually spent, but he turned it into $1 million. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Where have you heard of someone doing
$84,000 investment for $1 million?
For $1 million, that's a pretty good investment. Now I hope he's still adding $30 into it and keep doing that strategy. But if you don't start, you're never going to get ahead. And this world isn't designed in our generation to get ahead. It's kind of keep us behind.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we got today.
Yeah. Well,
cover everything next time.
Yeah. Thanks for answering my questions. Thanks for joining us, y'all.